Right then, Manchester United. Oh, mate, come on. We are desperate for a win. Brentford at home. Well, Galatasaray at home. And Crystal Palace at home. Okay, point taken. Brentford are good and they're a problem. On form, they've been a bit of a problem for some of the bigger teams in the league. Away from home, that's not generally the case. But anyway, before we get into this is brought to you by our friends at Parimatch UK, like every single preview we're doing this season. If you would like to check out any of the rest of the chapters of this video, including my exclusive bet for this week, then check out all of that, any of the different sectors of this video below. But we'll talk about the bet a little bit later on. Let's talk about Brentford then. So, in addition to being bottom of the Champions League group with 0 points, United are 10th in the Premier League coming into this. Already 9 points adrift of the summit, which probably far too many right now for us to win the league. Not that I think anyone was thinking that, but the point is the point. We've lost 6 of our last 10 games so far in 23-24, conceding 18 goals. It's the most we've shipped at this stage of a season since 1967, 1966, 67. We did win the league that year, so I don't know what happened there. Brentford also find themselves in a bit of a frustrating start to the season. They've only won 1 and 9 in all competitions, 5 draws, 3 defeats. They have gone 7 games without a win since beating Fulham in August. No Premier League team has dropped more points from winning positions this season than Brentford with 8. That's tied with Bournemouth. United could also lose 3 successive home games for the first time since February 1979. Now, I think a loss is unlikely. I think a loss is unlikely. But we are more than capable of ballsing this up with a draw. I think that's possible. Now, here's an interesting stat. Both Brentford, with 70%, and United, with 63%, launched the majority of their goal kicks last season. But Flecken and Onana as keepers now for either side, and it's changed. Brentford are now 40%, and United are only 26% that go long with our goal kicks. Just completely showing how much both teams have changed since last season. And on average, both side kicks are more than 15 yards shorter this season than it was. And I think it's worth looking at Brentford have had even more touches in the defensive third than any other team in the top flight in 23-24. That could just be because they're struggling to play out or teams are setting up in a mid-block. There's multiple reasons for why they might have that stat, but I thought it was an interesting stat. Right, how do they play then? Well, over the years, Frank has sort of solidified his decision to play a back 4, despite the fact that he does occasionally dabble with a 3-5-2. Typical of the starting formation, though, this tends to be the defensive shape as they try and counteract their opposition. If you saw him on Monday Night Football, he was very good the other week, about 2-3 weeks ago. In possession, the shape is quite similar, regardless of the system. They go for width, they go for depth, and they play quite a vertical, direct approach that tries to catch an opposition off guard, maximise the space in behind the back line, and they always have willing forward runners, which makes it effective for them. Since Brentford often prefer to try and attract pressure on them and then counter at speed, another reason why you might see so many touches in their own third, attacking transitions are really essential to how they hurt teams. It also means that they're constantly looking for space in behind an opposition defence. One example, they've completed the 4th most long passes this season, only behind Fulham, Brighton and Manchester City. This is where having one of the least technical squads in the league doesn't really matter for them. They utilise physical strengths like pace, like power, like tenacity, like players willing to attack the channels quickly. And although they mainly target that on transitions, it's not unusual for them to favour the build-up approach when they're trying to... Do you know what? I know they like to build up. I also think the reason that they like to try and build up is to get them to an area on the pitch where they can launch an attack from. Launching an attack over the halfway line from your own goal line doesn't really work. But if you can... Put it this way, as I enter the middle third from my third, so you've got that sort of halfway in your own half sort of area with the ball, a lot of opposition teams are going to try and keep their defence pushed right up to the halfway line. And as they're pushing right up to that halfway line, it makes the team compact. But it also means that if you're just going to bosh it over the top, You haven't got that far. You're only looking at a 30-yard ball or so, 35-yard ball to be putting someone right in as a threat on the opposition box. So one thing that you can do is you could drop off, but if you drop off, you're going to allow them to play through you. And that might be a move, is to try and maybe hit with a mid or a low block a little bit and let them have the ball and go, okay, show us what you can do when you try and break us down. But most teams in the Premier League are now pushing towards, a team that wants to defend halfway line, 1v1, a team that wants to push everybody into the opposition half, win the ball high up the pitch, counter-press in that half. And then as a consequence, you get teams like Brentford that are going to go, okay, well, if you're going to come right up to the halfway line, I'm just going to go bing over the top like that and try and catch you on a break, which is very interesting. Now, when they do try and build up, the way they do it, they go 3+3 early in the build-up. They utilise Flecken, the goalkeeper, as the third centre-half, and they keep the full-backs wide. Nordgaard, usually the pivot, that's going to get on the ball the most often. Jensen can drop in alongside Nordgaard. And they look to try and create an overload around their own box. Again, another reason why they have so many touches. They like to go 1 and 2 touch in there, and they move the ball around there quite nice. It's a big distinction, though, that they're not afraid to go long if the opposition presses too much. They will bail out and just dink it over the top. So you're caught in a bit of two minds here. Do you want to push and press and get caught in the obvious trap? Or do you want to try and sit off, go, I'm going to let your centre-halves have it, and we'll just stand right here? It's a big decision for Erik ten Hag, what he's got to do defensively. Now, obviously defensively, they've struggled this season, hence why they're in the position that they're in. And Frank does alter the team setup depending on who they're facing, and he alluded to that on Monday Night Football as well. He can go 4-5-1, he can go 5-3-2, even in his own half. And Brentford's intensity is how they defend. And when that's fell off, when they've not defended correctly 1v1, because they do like to go man-orientated with it, when they haven't fully managed to disrupt an opposition's build-up early, and when they do start getting overloaded in midfield, that's when they unravel. When they're in a bit of a sustained defensive phase, which happens because they're not really overly asked about having the ball, they do try and get compact, and it's a real compact structure front to back. 4-5-1 or a 5-4-1, as you'll occasionally see it as they move deeper and deeper into that sort of zonal block. And they'll press from midfield, that'll stay intense, but the defenders will go quite passive and just try and occupy spaces a little bit, crowding out a little bit of the central area. Predicted 11 should look something like this. And Starman is going to be Mbeumo. So he kind of came on and scored a shit ton of goals that I really wasn't expecting from him. Especially if they lose Ivan Toney, you think, no one's going to score any goals for them. And Mbeumo's kind of come up trumps a little bit for him. He's stocky, but he is agile. He's very, very good with the ball at his feet. He's able to wiggle away from challenges a little bit because he does have a bit of a low centre of gravity. He is their best attacking threat. Anywhere around the box, he's going to pull the trigger. He's got a real great strike, and he allows them to be mobile in and out of possession because he's a big part of their pressing when they don't have it, but he's also a massive threat and a real workhorse across the line when they're in possession. He's fast and direct when he gets on it, and he's very, very incisive as well. So if he gets 1v1 with a defender that's switched off, put it this way, if he gets into the zone that Zaha found himself 1v1 with Delo, we're in trouble. And they are capable of scoring at Old Trafford this weekend. In terms of the 11 then, I thought there was a lot of positives and there was a lot of negatives, let's be real with ourselves, in the Galatasaray game. And I'm going to go very similar to what we saw against Galatasaray. I'm going to bring Anthony back in. And I'm going to go with Delo, Amrabat, because I like the positions he's taking up with the ball, and I like how he's getting on the ball. Delo, Amrabat, Lindelof, and Varane. I'm going to go Mount and Casemiro. At least this is where they'll line up, even if they don't play there. Bruno ahead in the 10. Anthony on the right, Rashford on the left, Højlund down the middle. Match winner, Rasmus Højlund. He's a real player. You're going to need physicality. You're going to need people to link up the play. You're going to need people who can control the ball in tight areas, someone that you can play the ball into, can turn a corner, find other people. This is him. He is brimming with confidence at the moment. if we can get some service to him, he will be the reason United win this game. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the show, this is brought to you by our friends at Parimatch UK, and we're going to give you the chance to win a £50 free bet. They've recently launched their new free-to-play football prediction game called Hat Trick Hunt. Every week, you're going to get the chance to predict free scores from the Premier League with free rewards for every single correct prediction that you make. If you get all three correct, you're going to be rewarded with a £50 free bet. It's that simple. Now, this week, I am going for United and Brentford 3-1. I think Brentford are shipping goals at the moment. I think they're capable of scoring. United are probably not ready for a clean sheet. So 3-1 is a scoreline I'm going for with this. I'm going Burnley-Chelsea 1-1 because, well, I just think they've been poor lately, Chelsea. And even though they've had a couple of decent results, I think Burnley are capable of getting something at Burnley. So 1-1 is the scoreline. I'm going with that. Sheffield United are in free fall, and Fulham have been better than their recent results suggest as well. So I would say 2-0 Fulham, fairly comfortable. But I want to know your score predictions as well. Give us your score predictions on those three. And if you fancy getting involved yourself, click the link below. Of course, you've got to be over 18 and full T's and C's do apply. Thank you to Parimatch for sponsoring this video. All you got to do is log in, predict the correct score for each fixture displayed, and submit your predictions. Prizes include free bet and cash. And then how do we beat them? Well, the set pieces are a danger. United have been awful at set pieces this season. Janssen brings a real value to the Brentford team by having an excellent whipped-in cross. He's even got free kicks and even throw-ins. That's a problem. The throw-ins are often enough to get a bit of a flick on and cause some sort of havoc in and around the penalty area, and United are not good in that area right now. They are physical, they are powerful. We've got to be better on set plays. Thomas Frank has built this sort of set play success from having like quite elaborate setups. They remind me of a lot of like non-league or like national league sort of sides because it's just, it seems almost over-rehearsed and you're like, this is ridiculous. Oh, it's 1-0. Shit. There's loads of examples of Frank being an absolute genius at set pieces, and he encourages his players to cause havoc in the box. And, you know, apart from this weekend, generally I'm here for it. You might notice this during the game. They often start sort of all around one post, and then they'll rush out either to the other post or just into set positions. He's almost NFL-like with it. It's interesting. And then secondly, you've got to match or actually set the work rate. Brentford are one of the hardest working side in the league, which is why they've got such an exceptional record against the top sides. They don't go casually into games. They come out and they work. And judging by recent games, the concern with United is that they can't keep that sort of pace because we've struggled with that a little bit. Pressure's going to be sky high, and Brentford aren't really the team that you really want to be playing when you're having a bit of a time of it the way United are at the moment. So fix those two things, be strong from set pieces and match the work rate, and you've got half a chance. Otherwise, you're in for a long night. But that's my predictions. And if you'd like to get involved with the actual predictions from Parimatch, then check the link in the description. Otherwise, let me know your thoughts on the game. I'll see you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.